We're staged for another run of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. As we get closer to the Gator Nationals, we thought it'd be a good chance to catch up with the greatest of all time. Today, we'll talk to Big Daddy, Don Garlits. The burnout is complete, and we're set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is The Straight Line on Drag Racing at MRN.com. Along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion, 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff. This weekend, my friend, you got to mix a little business with pleasure out at a break school, but there was also the sights and sounds of drag racing going on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were having a break school out there at the old Firebird Raceway, Wild Pass Horse Park, and they were having a Division 7 drag race going on while we were having the break school. So it was a little bit busy and a little bit loud at times, but got to see Brian Huff and Jay Payne and Shelly Payne and some of the neat, friends out there on the West Coast. So really had a good time and taught a couple hundred more teenagers to be safer drivers out there in the Phoenix area. Roger and Karen Comstock were out there racing. They had raced like cool. 5 different classes, I think.
No doubt.
And they just love racing, so it was good to see them as well and have a good time with all of our guys in Phoenix.
And one of the reasons why NHRA came to be was to get kids off the streets and onto a safe, responsible place to race. Right. And one of the reasons why you started breaks in the first place is to be more responsible drivers.
Right, yeah, NHRA was really started back in the late 40s, early 50s as a way to get these young drivers off the street and get them to a safer place to race. So they started drag racing. I mean, that was really where it came from, was get them off the street, take it to the track. And our upcoming guest, Big Daddy Don Garlits, actually joined us late last year at the break class that we did over there in Memphis. So it was really fun to have him over there and show him what's going on. And he's been a friend of my family, was a friend of my dad's forever, and it was just super, super neat to have him come to the races. He's obviously my hero. Yeah. He was my dad's hero. He's an American hero. Yeah.
What are your first memories of Big Daddy?
I remember hanging on the fence at Orange County International Raceway, watching him race, like Big Daddy. And I was just there with, I think like a Boy Scout group or something. Mm-hmm. And then the first time I got to meet him was probably in about the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s. We went to Pomona. I went to Pomona with my dad, and we were cruising around the pits, and my dad said, well, let's go over there and talk to Garlits. I was like, oh, cool. And Garlits sat there and was busy, working on the car, and just dropped everything to talk to my dad and I for probably 20, 30 minutes, which was pretty impressive. And I was a Big Daddy fan. I mean, I'm like, I want to be a top fuel racer. I mean, it motivated me to work hard to be able to go be a top fuel racer. I mean, I wanted to race Big Daddy. So luckily, I had a chance to race Big Daddy later on. Yeah,
and you took a lot from Big Daddy as you worked on your cars, you tuned the cars. It was kind of your team like Big Daddy had, but you also drove the car as well. And that's back in the day, that's what Big Daddy did. I mean, that was his deal and his deal alone.
Right. There's not very many owner, driver, crew chiefs, mechanics around these days.
That's true.
Johnny West, Don Garlits. There's not a whole lot of them. Jim Head, probably one of the latest ones. Right. Tim Wilkerson, of course, Wilkerson.
No, that's good. Good point.
Pretty darn good. Doing that, but there's not a whole lot of owner, driver, tuner guys around that could build you a car. That's what I always was impressed about Johnny West. Like, take Johnny West, put him in a room with a bunch of metal and machines, and he could build the engine, build the car, take it to the track, and drive it down the track. Johnny West always impressed me.
And just to give you a little behind the scenes flavor, one of the things that Don asked us to do was to give him a little heads up before we called him to get him on the show, because he said, I could be out in the shop grinding on something and not be able to hear the phone or something. He's 85 years old. He's still out there tinkering with stuff. and probably building, whatever, race cars or, pieces and parts to race cars, still.
Well, he works on stuff in his museum, I think, a lot. So if anybody has not been to Big Daddy Don Garlits Museum, Ocala, Florida, it's off Interstate 75. We'll get him to tell us a little bit more about it. But if you drive by there, you can't miss the signs. There's signs, it's like, don't miss, the greatest spectacle in racing, whatever. And you drive by there, and chances are, if you go to the Garlits Drag Racing Museum, you're going to probably run into him because he's generally there working on some project.
Yep, and if you get the opportunity to drop by, usually not during when the Gator Nationals is in town, because it really starts to get busy about that time, and they've got the Hall of Fame dinner, and they do a lot of stuff. And again, we'll talk to Don about that. But if you're going down there, if you just happen to be on an off day or something like that, the chances are pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, and you walk around there and see the cars and the memorabilia that he has from racing it's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
and it's also the home of the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Right.
When I talked to him the other day, he was asking how my aunt was. He goes, "Oh, she's fine." "Oh, I was out there walking through the other day, and I saw her plaque on the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame." So my Aunt Doris was a big drag racing originator, and she was an inductee into the Drag Racing Hall of Fame in 1993. She ran a publication called Drag News, which was that was where you got all your drag racing information. Weekly, rag that came out, and that covered NHRA, IHRA, AHRA, basically everything drag racing.
Right.
They covered at Drag News.
And so your aunt, your dad, hopefully one day we'll see you in there as well. I'm sure we probably
maybe if
will.
I live that long. Or we never know.
And coming up, we will talk to Big Daddy Don Garlits, and just about all the innovations, about what he's doing today, and about how he came to be Big Daddy. And we'll catch up with him next here on The Straight Line.
You're smart, got your own trucking business, making it happen. What if I told you there was a place online where you could connect with other smart owner-operators just like you? It's an online community called Team Run Smart, where people share advice on truck maintenance, fuel savings, healthy habits on the road, and so much more, all to make your business free. Visit teamrunsmart.com today to check it out. You'll be glad you did. teamrunsmart.com, brought to you by Freightliner Trucks.
Live sports are the one true reality entertainment, where a single dramatic moment can become timeless. In NASCAR, Motor Racing Network's live broadcasts elevate your senses to the sights, sounds, and struggles taking place on the racetrack.
Danica Patrick to the front of the field at Talladega. They are side by side behind her. Jimmy Johnson.
The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
Martinsville, the original NASCAR battlefield, celebrates 70 years. Sunday, April 2nd, with the STP 500. New challengers Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney square off against Martinsville Masters. 5-time winner Denny Hamlin, 9 times master Jimmy Johnson, and Earnhardt is back at his favorite track. Martinsville Speedway, Sunday afternoon, April the 2nd. For tickets, call 877-RACE-TICKS.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
As we said in the open, it's always a good time to catch up with Big Daddy Don Garlits once we get closer to the Gator Nationals. So on the telephone line with us right now is one of the greatest of all time, the Big Daddy Don Garlits. How are you, sir?
Boy, I'm great. It's been a great day.
That is good. When I called you a couple days ago and asked you, Don, if you would come on the show, you said, yep, any day's a good day when I'm on the right side of the dirt. So that yep, that puts it right all into perspective real quick, right?
Boy, you got that right. So many of my friends aren't with me anymore.
Yeah, I know. My dad was one of your biggest, well, you guys were friends, and he was one of your biggest
Oh,
fans.
my God, he's one of the best. He was a super guy.
Don, from the time I was a young kid going out watching you at Orange County International Raceway, and then my dad brought me to the races in probably the mid to early 80s, and we came by there and visited you at Pomona, and that was really probably what motivated me as a person to, I wanted to be like Big Daddy, because you were, you had #1 on your car. You were the one where all the fans wanted to come over and see Big Daddy, and I was just so impressed by you and your, what you were doing on the car and how you stopped what you were doing to talk to my dad and I. You're really a big, you were a major part of the inspiration of me, pushing me to work hard and to want to go be a top field racer.
You know, a lot of guys come here in the museum and they say hello to me and they say, "You caused me to be a drag racer," and they kind of, acting kind of funny about it, laughing, and then they say, "Thank you." Sometimes I don't know whether they're going to be mad or not.
No, nothing to be mad about. Don, so we wanted to call you because of Gainesville coming up. You're a 4-time Gainesville winner and a 17-time world champion, but also Gainesville's kind of been one of your places. That was where, other guys, maybe the West Coast guys, brought their new cars out at Pomona, but you brought your new stuff out of Gainesville a lot of times, and we're obviously pretty successful there. And around Gainesville, you've got your International Drag Racing Hall of Fame event coming up, and also the museum, your awesome museum down in Ocala. Tell us a little bit about all the things that are coming up around the Gainesville race for you.
Well, this is a big deal for me. Gainesville, and first off, that track is one of the best in the world. It's got almost 5,000 feet of shutoff area, and that's so important today with these high-speed cars, And, of course, our weather's good down there. We get a little rain once in a while, but mostly that race always comes off, and it's really successful because it's like the big season opener for the East. All the rest of the races that are ahead of this are way out west, so it gets large participation with the competitors and also the fans.
Don, you mentioned everybody coming in from the East, and this is kind of the opener for the East. Hot rodding and drag racing really evolved in the West, so how did a guy from the East Coast get involved in hot rodding and drag racing?
Well, hot rodding was first, and of course they always wanted to test their cars, so they tested them against each other, and that began drag racing. That's how it all got started. I remember the first track we ever went to in Zephyr Hills in 1950 with just 18 of us, and we all just drove up there in our old Fords and raced each other. And, no trophies, no clocks, nothing, just the fun of racing on a drag strip, which was actually an old airport, and, not getting into trouble for it.
No, not getting into trouble for it was good. And then you turned it into it was a business for you. Drag racing, you were one of the first guys to turn it into a business and successful, at it. Tell us, how did that evolve? I mean, you love drag racing and innovating and these different things. And how did you turn what your sport and your hobby was into a living?
Well, I got a lot of publicity when I turned that 176 miles an hour in 1957. Prior to that, I just raced as a hobby. But after I beat the Cook and Bedwell car at Cordova in August of 57, and then November 57 went 176, which was the first car over 170, we got a lot of publicity out of that, and it was drag news that did it, because there's no national dragster at the time, and they had went to gasoline at NHRA. So the first time that it actually happened was Wichita Falls, Texas, and for June they had this Texas Invitational. And they called me up and they said, "We'd like you to come over here and compete with all these guys." We got the Cook and Bedwell car was owned by Myron Davis then. We got the Speed Sport. We got Langley and some of the Texas guys, and we'd like to have you come over. And I said, "Look, I can't come over there. I don't have the money to do that. I've got a shop to run." And they said, "Well, if we gave you some money, how much would it take?" And I said, "Well, if I had $450, I could do it." They said, "You got it." And there wasn't no contract or nothing. It was just a phone conversation. And I went over there, and it's the Texas Timing Association. And, of course, they complete gentlemen, and they gave me the $450, and then on top of that, I won the meet, that low ET and top time. And, of course, they had a huge crowd, and that word spread throughout the drag racing strip, the promoter industry, and the phone started ringing, and they were hiring me to go everywhere. And so within about a year or so, I was making money at drag racing.
Don, if we're talking about a lot of travel between where you are in Central Florida and going out to Texas and going out to California. One of the things that we take for granted nowadays are interstate highways, but it was really one of the things that helped you out to be able to travel to get to all of these drag meets where you were starting to make money.
Oh my God, I had a 55 Chevy, two-door sedan, and my brother and I would do it with our wives. Each of us were married, and one driver would sleep in the back seat and the other would drive, and we'd close the shop on like Friday afternoon and drive to where we was going, race, and Sunday afternoon leave and drive back and be there to work Monday morning.
That was what my dad made me do too. You must have taught him that. Or he taught you that or something.
The most exciting story that I can tell about that travel is we went out to California to that big East-West challenge that they held at Riverside in December of 1959. And Art Malone and I drove out there with our 50 Cadillac two-door sedan and the open trailer and Swampert 1 on the back of it with the supercharger. We won the race and then drove straight back because Christmas was on a Wednesday. And we made the trip from Riverside to Tampa in 54 hours. And remember, there's no interstates yet.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you're a road warrior. And, you know, one of the things, Don, that I was always impressed with you was you drove the car. You designed the car. You built the car. You drove the car. You tuned the car. You drove the truck to the races. Like, this guy is amazing. He does it all.
Yeah, Perdome made a cute statement one time. We pulled into the Pop Hot Rod event in Martin, Michigan, me and the couple of boys in the truck with the windows rolled down, and I was behind the wheel, pulled into the pits, and the snake come over there, and he said, "My God, don't you have air conditioning in this truck?" I said, "I do not have air conditioning. Number one, it would take away from the gas mileage of the truck, and number two, I want my guys used to hot weather when they get here. I don't want them to keep sucking back into the air-conditioned cab of the truck."
Great stories and more with Don Garlits coming up.
If you have a question or comment about NASCAR, Motor Racing Network has a direct line for you. It's the Fan Forum Hotline.
I'm a newbie to this sport just this year, and I wanted to know.
I was wondering if when they measure the length of a racetrack.
Call in at 844-4-ASK-MRN. That's 844-4-ASK-MRN.
Wanted to send out a big shout out and thanks for covering the race.
The Fan Forum Hotline, your connection to NASCAR.
MRN's Throwback Thursday, the greatest races in NASCAR history.
Richard Petty comes to the outside of Benny Parsons, and ladies and gentlemen, it will be Richard Petty victorious in the STP Dodge.
Listen Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on MRN.com or the MRN app.
And Dale Earnhardt has won the Daytona 500.
On demand in the MRN.com Media Center or on iTunes and Google Play.
Jeff Gordon wins the Southern 500 and the Winston Noble $5 million bonus.
Throwback Thursday on MRN.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Backley. Join me every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. This one-hour interactive show takes you beyond the typical storylines in NASCAR with the stars of the sport.
The celebration's been fun. I mean, afterwards, I guess I didn't leave the track until my 1:30, so I caught it with my crew in South Beach.
NASCAR Live also gives you in-depth analysis with MRN's top personalities.
Because for me, the decisive moment of this championship was when...
Check it out. NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, once again, here's Doug and Marty.
Thanks for hanging on with us, and rejoining us is Big Daddy Don Garlits, and we were talking during the break about the Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing. Also, a Hall of Fame coming up. Don, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We honor people from all over the world for contributions that they've made to drag racing. You know, not just the drivers, riders, photographers, builders, people who given so much to the sport, and, you know, they didn't get anything out of it to speak of. There's only several people in the sport that really made any money at it, and most everybody else did it for a hobby. And so I'm honored to say that I founded this International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We're in about 27 years now. It's been going on quite a while, and it has become the Oscars of drag racing. And it'll bring a tear to your eye when some of these old timers get up there and accept their awards. And, you know, they never got nothing, but just put a lot of hard work into something that they loved, you know, and to be up on that stage in the spotlight and getting their big trophy and the ring and the recognition. And we just like to thank all the sponsors that have supported that and made it possible for it to go on all these years. There's a lot of people that put a lot of money into it, and we appreciate it from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah, that International Drag Racing Hall of Fame that you do is super neat, and I was so proud to be able to go there and accept my Aunt Doris's award when you inducted her in 1993. How can people get involved, Don, with the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and where can they go and see, you know, the dedications?
Well, the banquet is always held on Thursday night during Gainesville. It'll be March the 16th this year, and it's at the old Paramount Hotel. It's been redone now at the Wyndham, and it's cocktails at 6:30. And you can call the museum anytime you like and get information about how to become involved or win the banquet or whatever information you'd like to know. Just call the museum. We have people here that'll give it to you. And you can go to the website and get a lot of information, Garlits.com.
Well, that is great. I'll tell you what, Don, nothing more fun than having a little bit of time to talk with you. I was sure happy last year when you were able to join us over at the brakes class in Memphis last year, and being able to show you what we were doing with all the kids over there I was super proud of being able to show you that.
I was impressed with that. You're doing a great job, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don, what keeps you busy nowadays? 85 years old and still kicking around. What's taking up your time nowadays?
I thought you'd never ask. I've got an electric dragster. It goes 185.6 in 7.05 seconds. Trying to go into the sixes, and I'd like to go 200. And I'm having some brand new batteries built as we speak, which I hope will do the job.
Oh, wow. So, you know, all the innovations that you've done over the years, from the small tires and the enclosed cockpit and the rear engine car, now shifting gears really a lot to this electric powered car. What have been some of the trials and tribulations you've been having working on this thing? I know you've been working on it for a couple years now.
Yeah, 3 years to be exact.
Wow.
Brushes and motors, they hate that kind of voltage thrown at them, especially when they got such a load against them. You know, the motors are sitting dead still. And then the battery technology has changed quite a bit. I don't know. It's just, and, you know, controllers and stuff, it's just a whole new different world of stuff you have to work with. And I've got some guys that help me from down in Groveland at the Lawless Industries there. They build a lot of electrical stuff for Disney World. So I've got some good people helping me. And we've had a little break because we burned some batteries up, and it takes a while to get these batteries built. It isn't something you go down to the store and buy.
Right.
Have to have them built. So that's what I'm on right now, where we're getting some new batteries made, and we'll be back on the track right after Gainesville.
That's incredible. Don, as a 17-time world champion and the first racer to pass so many different milestones, do you have any particular moment that really sticks out to you in drag racing? What are a couple maybe of your favorite moments that you've enjoyed in drag racing?
Well, one of them was that 1984 U.S. Nationals. I'd been out of the sport a couple of years, moving up here to the museum. I went to a few match races, but I didn't do much. And Malone came up here and said, "Let's go to Indy." And I said, "Great, I'll get some tickets." And he said, "No, I want to race." I said, "I don't have anything to race." He says, "No," he said, "go in the museum and pick out your favorite car, and I'll put a new motor and clutch assembly in it, and we'll go up there and see if we can qualify." We got up there. We was a laughing stock. We had a little bitty old trailer and this old museum car. They parked us out in the dirt and not even on the pavement. And third run, we had top speed of the meet, and we knew we weren't there to drink Budweiser beer.
Yeah.
And we won the event, and Malone says, let's go to the World Finals. And I said, I need another motor. He said, you got it. We went to the World Finals, and we beat Beck in the final and won again. And it put me back in business, and I won the championship 2 years in a row.
Wow. Well, that was, yeah. I was there in '84 and watched it out there, and what an incredible deal. Watching Don Garlits, watching Big Daddy win the race, always an incredible thing. Don, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for spending your time to be on the show, and thanks for your dedication to drag racing, to the International Hall of Fame. All of our listeners, hopefully, will go to garlits.com, learn a little bit about the museum, go down there and visit the museum, and support the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you so much, Doug, for having me on the show, and you keep up your good work with your brakes.
Thank you, sir. You're my hero.
Big Daddy Don Garlits joining us on the Straight Line, and when we return, we'll wrap up another great edition of the show.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
I'm Steve Post, co-host of MRN's Wing Nation. Join Aaron Evernham and me every Tuesday at noon Eastern on MRN.com and on the MRN app. And join Ashley Strummy and me on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Eastern on MAV TV. We talk to the biggest names in sprint cars and give you the latest news and race results from dirt tracks around the country. MRN's Wing Nation on MRN.com, the MRN app, and MAV TV.
So what are your favorite drivers really thinking? We'll tell you each weekday on NASCAR Today, midday.
Getting married has been incredible. I wish I had figured all this out sooner.
Get the latest news from the sport and the opinions of NASCAR's biggest stars.
Changing over to Ford will open up some opportunities and possibilities and some just pure potential for the team.
That's NASCAR Today, midday. Weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Big Daddy Don Garlits for joining us on today's show. And we're really not joking when we're talking about if you ever get the opportunity and you're in Central Florida and specifically Ocala or right around Gainesville or so, stop by.
It's really between Ocala and Disney, you know, down there, Orlando. So if you're down anywhere, even in Orlando, it's only an hour drive. Go over there. Don't miss that museum. If you're a drag racing fan, you would be disappointed if you missed it.
Yeah, it really is impressive. I mean, if you've spent some time in the NHRA museum down in Pomona, and that's really cool. Don Garlits Museum is just as impressive.
Oh, I've been there. I've been to Garlits
so have
Museum too. So yeah, it's definitely something that you don't want to miss. Just appreciate Garlits joining us today. A lot of neat things going on in his contributions to drag racing. So go to garlits.com to check that out.
Yep, and the International Hall of Fame, International Drag Racing Hall of Fame inductions coming up here next Thursday. We'll talk to you then. So for everybody involved, including Doug and our award-winning staff, my name is Marty Huff, and we will talk to you next week here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and was brought to you by Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Thursday on MRN.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.